What if I told you there was a book that would ensure your players had a good time every time they ventured through one of your D&D villages? Well, my name is Assassin, and today I'm going to attempt to create a village using this book with my brother Zombie. But you're probably thinking, will this book really cause my players to have more fun in my D&D villages? Well, instead of answering that for you, I'll let you be the judge of that, because by the end of this video, you will have 9 fanciful ideas you can insert anywhere into your D&D campaign. So without further ado, let's get right into it. You got your dice, Zombie?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no digital dice, only physical dice. You got the physical? Okay, that sounds pretty physical to me, okay. I don't trust the digital dice, Zombie, only the weighted ones.
Yep.
Alright, and you got your physical template?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And if you're gonna fill out these templates, and if you're feeling generous, Zombie, you can give your template to our viewers at the end of the video.
I don't know. Pretty valuable.
Pretty valuable, I don't know. We'll see if Zombie's feeling generous by the end of the video. So, we're gonna start off by following my earlier video, Making Better D&D Villages. Chapter 1, Reason for Existence. Zombie, would you like to tell us why village number 1 exists?
Well, let's see. Alright, so I rolled a 1, so that says a rest stop along a major passageway.
Wonderful.
And I guess maybe we could figure out, like, what type of major passageway this is. Maybe this is, like, you know, not only a passageway, but where they are shipping a specific type of resource.
I like your thinking, Zombie. Perhaps we should mosey on over to the next chapter where we discover what strategic resource it is they are trafficking. Right, strategic resource. So basically, in this chapter, we have a D100 table full of resources that range from produce to livestock to mining materials to scavenged materials. We even have a table of old carcasses in case maybe your village is harvesting some old or ancient carcass. So, I'm gonna roll this D100 here. Let's see what we got. We got 34. What is 34? Tea! Oh my goodness.
It's the Tea Express.
Our village.
Rest stop in the Tea Express.
The tea. This is a dangerous syndicate, the Tea Syndicate. So, our village is exporting tea. What should we name our tea village?
It has to involve tea somehow. Yeah, and it has to be some sort of pun. So, like, dress to the tea.
Dress to the tea.
Dress to the tea village.
Dress to the Teaville.
And that's TEA. Dress to the TEA.
Okay, we're writing this down. You know what? Committing. Full send.
Amazing. I already want to live in Dress to the Teaville.
And just to make it more like ethnic, I'm thinking instead of making it 4 words, let's just smash all 4 words together to create some like long singular word
just
full
one
of
really long word. And you put
make it
2
slur together.
Put 2 dots over the O as well. Dress to the Teaville.
Yeah. All right, and I'm gonna change the to a DE. Dress to the Teaville. Wow. The foreigners are gonna have a lot of fun trying to pronounce that. Dress to the Teaville. All right. So name more villages. Dress to the Teaville. Any specific kind of tea? Perhaps it's like we want to like niche down on what kind of tea this village exports. Make it more interesting.
Yeah, maybe it's like, you know, okay, so black teas would be boring. Maybe it's some sort of weird exotic plant. Maybe some sort of green tea. Oh, maybe it's its own sort of tea.
We could make up the plant, yeah.
It's like we could just come up with a color. So there's already red, there's already black, there's already white. How about an already green?
Periwinkle?
So maybe like Harrywinkle? I was just going along colors and you just throw out Harrywinkle.
Isn't periwinkle a color? I could be wrong. I've been wrong before.
I have no clue,
I'm gonna
honestly.
Google this. Periwinkle. Yeah, it's a color.
Harrywinkle? Okay, Harrywinkle tea.
Periwinkle.
That does sound very exotic.
All right, writing this down.
I don't know how to spell that.
Perry, like Perry the Platypus. Same word, winkle. Winkle.
Okay. Well, I wrote tea already, so Periwinkle's going over produce.
Okay.
Honestly, I thought you were saying Harrywinkle.
No, like... Oh, wait, no, I actually misspelled
Yeah.
it. Never mind, I misspelled it. For those
Okay,
watching,
well, you know
be
what?
sure to
Well,
Google
that's fine.
periwinkle. Maybe
That's
this is our
fine.
own homebrew periwinkle.
We'll
Yeah,
leave
cool.
it. We'll leave it as it is.
And what effects does periwinkle tea have on the drinkers?
You know what? I think we should roll again on the produce table, and whatever we roll is we'll take inspiration from.
All right, roll a d100 for the strategic resources.
That is a 53.
53.
Honeybees.
Honeybees.
Oh my goodness, that really works. So it just tastes really sweet without needing sweetener.
Sure. How about it's addictively sweet?
It's already a syndicate.
Addictively sweet. Wonderful. So, the strategic resource for this village it's a rest stop for periwinkle tea. And
got some periwinkle tea.
Just people scratching their elbows.
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right.
I need that sweet stuff, man.
We got our strategic resource. Next, let's determine the size. What is the population of our village? I'll let you roll this one.
Okay.
How large? How many people live in our village?
Alright. Let's see. That is a 1. Literally 100
There
people.
are 100 people in our village. And let's determine now the wealth level of our village. How wealthy are the inhabitants of Dress to the T-ville?
Just to the T-ville.
Dress to the T-ville. They are 3.
1.
Wealthy.
Impoverished?
I rolled a 3.
Okay, we'll go with wealthy.
Honestly,
that makes more sense.
Impoverished would be hilarious, but these, the syndicate of Dress to the T-ville are wealthy. I like to think maybe that there's just a few amount of people there, like we said, only 100 people, and you have to be rich to live in Dress to the T-ville. It's kind of like one of those old, not necessarily like a retirement location, but people who need to have enough money, to like move there and buy a house on the prime real estate.
Or maybe Dress to the T-ville is also just completely filled with mostly impoverished people, but the few wealthy people there make it so incredibly wealthy that it falls within the wealthy category.
Ooh, juicy. So there's a dark side to Dress to the T-ville.
Yeah, Dress to the T-ville has the periwinkle tea barons that lorded over the population.
The periwinkle tea barons. I'm gonna write that down here.
How the plot thickens.
Wealthy tea barons. Okay. And perhaps there are no real generational citizens or locals of Dress to the T-ville. Perhaps all the poor citizens are just addicts who showed up and couldn't, who like wasted all their money on periwinkle tea and now have no way of getting out of the city, like just perpetually trapped in there now.
And are forced to farm their next dose.
I mean, I guess that's yes, and they farm the periwinkle tea fields in exchange for periwinkle tea. Oh no.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh no.
I didn't think Dress to the T-ville was going to be so dark, but
oh my gosh.
You learn something new every day.
Indeed you do. Let's go to the next chapter. Chapter 5, Culture. So we're going to roll up a culture for this village. I'll let you roll on the greetings table first. How will people in Dress to the T-ville greet foreigners? What will they say?
Alright. That is a 9. So, what are you at?
Alright, so whenever a foreigner, or let's say your players walk into Dress to the T-ville and someone meets them, they'll walk up to them and say, "Hey, what are you at?" I like that. It sort of fits with the theme.
Yeah, it definitely fits with Dress to the T-ville.
For those who don't know, this is a greeting done in a small little island off the northeastern coast of Canada called Newfoundland. All right, and for a non-verbal greeting, how will they greet people non-verbally in Dress to the T-ville? I'm going to roll a d10 off the table here in my book. 2. They will bow and say, "What are you at?" I like to think they just stare you in the eye as they lean forward and say, "What are you at?"
You know what? I also have a feeling that even the impoverished citizens, the addicts, are still dressed really well. They're farming in these, like, suits and stuff, and they bow when you pass by, and they say, "What are you at?"
These muddy suits.
Yeah, muddy suits.
Oh wait, actually the next section is clothing, so let's write that down.
Okay.
Yeah, for clothing, they have
Muddy suits.
Muddy suits.
What's really funny is that so far I've made multiple transitions where I've just said something because I was inspired, and then it turns out the next section is that thing. Like the strategic resource, I was literally just saying, hey, that's a good idea.
Zombie has not read my book yet. So this is a new one for Zombie. Cool. Muddy suits, awesome. And for the food, would you like to roll on the food table? So basically for the food table, we want to add a mealtime quirk to this village to make it unique, so that when your players sit down and eat, it's not just like, you ate potatoes, but it's like, okay, what is the unique cultural experience your players have while eating food? I know this sounds really hyper detailed, but from the villages that I personally have been to, and I have been to over 20 countries with many villages inside of them, food is always the number one aspect of every village I've been to. Go for it.
Number 5. The locals hold hands and pray together before each meal.
Wow, so wholesome. I'm gonna write that down. Locals hold hands and pray before eating. I like to picture like just this impoverished family with like no money, in like suits covered in dirt, just eating like some shrubs, being like, "We are thankful for this food before us."
Someone new comes in while they're in the middle of their like prayer, and like one of them just sort of lifts up their head, bows slightly, "What are you at?" and then just like goes right back to praying.
Wow, this is quite the quirky village, although, not gonna lie, if you're using my book, Roll Me a Village, you're gonna have trouble not coming up with a quirky village, and that's the goal, honestly. Next section, holidays. First, we have to ask the question, why do people in Dresdudatieville celebrate their holidays? I'm gonna roll from this table here. And the answer is number 4, to show gratitude for each other. So I'm just spitballing off of this. I like to think that maybe the barons are forcing holidays on the people, and the barons want them to show gratitude for like all the periwinkle tea that they're being given, and so the barons are trying to like force them to be grateful, and so the barons created this holiday to show gratitude
for the tea,
for the barons and the tea. So okay, reason for celebration: to show gratitude for each other.
All right, and who celebrates? Some people work while they're celebrating. You know, even though you're
That's
thankful.
Hilarious that you actually rolled that.
Yeah, I rolled a 3.
All right. So in Dresdudatieville, on this holiday, some people work because the barons can't have everyone taking time off.
Yeah, it's just the not quite so impoverished peasants that
they go in rotations, right? You know, you wait your turn for your holiday.
Yeah.
All right, and how do people in Dresdudatieville celebrate their holidays? This is a D20. I roll here, and it says 7. Feasting at home with the family. Okay, So basically, when it's holiday time, you can go home and eat your dried herbs with your family.
But not everyone.
Only some people.
So only Susie's going to be home, but Daryl, her husband's not.
It's so sad. Oh my gosh. I like to think that the barons are just standing there and Susie is like, "But this is not fair." And then the barons just look at Susie and go, "Well, you can quit taking periwinkle tea anytime you want." And Susie's just like, "Oh, yeah, I think I'll pass. I'll take the periwinkle tea."
I'll take the periwinkle tea.
Yeah, it's so sad. level of isolation is level 1. I'm just going to read this excerpt from my book here on isolation. How isolated a village is determines how its villagers will treat your players. Is your village on a major trade route? For example, ours is. If it sees visitors often, then people are less likely to stick out like a sore thumb. If your village is familiar with exotic races, then yeah, it won't be so racist. And the reason why we're bringing this up now is because the next segment is on racism. You are welcome to include or exclude this from your village. However, I personally think it's a great thing to add because it can create some interesting encounters. So, Zombie, I would like to have you roll for the racism in our village. And the question is, what is the racial group that the people in Dresdudeteville mostly dislike?
Alright, so looks like it's not a very isolated spot given it's a rest stop along a major passageway. So this conflict's probably going to come up quite a bit. Number 3, Fey folk.
Fey folk.
Oh, that makes sense because, they're probably messing with the crops and stuff.
Want to read the brackets there?
So that includes centaurs, fairies, satyrs, etc. Dryads. Like anything Fey related.
Spicy. I like it. Alright, so the people in Dresdudeteville are racist towards Fey folk. Now we have to figure out, why don't they like Fey folk? What is the reason they tell everyone Fey folk are evil? Gonna roll 1d6 here on the table. 4. The reason why they don't like Fey folk is because it says your kind enslaved them. What if the barons in Dresdudeteville enslaved Fey folk to help work the farms?
Oh my goodness.
And because of slavery, there is animosity towards the Fey folk.
Oh my goodness.
I'm just gonna put here the racist reason as slavery.
Yep. So apparently the Fey folk are the ones that are addicted to tea as well. They're enslaved by the tea. Maybe it's especially addictive to Fey people. And the wealthy barons are just, normal humans or whatever. And
perhaps Fey folk have disadvantage on rolls against the effects of periwinkle tea.
Yeah, I guess so.
Alright, and finally, what will they do to you? What is the racist action that they will take towards, let's say, your players if they are Fey? I'll have you roll on the mild table, Zombie, because this is a highly trafficked area, not very isolated.
Alright. So they'll squint in your direction.
Alright.
Oh, those slaves.
Alright, racist action. You get squinted and stared at.
Okay.
Alright, moving on to religion. Now, I personally don't think we should have a religion for our village because this is on a major trade route. There's probably many religious beliefs passing through here, and they probably want to keep... They probably want to keep uninvolved from religious authorities in order to improve business and make sure everyone buys from them.
Yeah.
So for religion, I'm just going to put unaffiliated. Right. And finally, for superstitions, we have a superstition that brings good luck and a superstition that brings bad luck. Would you like to roll for good luck?
Alright. Bring me good luck. 1. Finding a horseshoe.
Okay, so the people of Dresdudeteville view finding a horseshoe as good luck. And I'd imagine there'd be quite a few of them from the amount of travel that goes through here.
Or maybe it's also from the centaurs that they're enslaving.
Oh! Wow, how cruel. That makes sense if they're enslaving centaurs to pull the plows.
Yeah.
Now I'm just picturing a whole bunch of buzzed centaurs with like eyes bulging out, pulling plows. Like, I gotta make my next paycheck. I gotta make my next dosage.
I need more of that sweet stuff.
I need my periwinkle tea. Right, now superstition, bad luck. Gonna roll 1d20. 12, and it is a 9. So, the people of Dresden to T-ville view knitting outdoors as something that brings bad luck. So, I guess you would never see people mending or fixing things out in the open.
It's a purely secluded activity.
Purely secluded activity. And I just also like that they don't like being judged, you know? They don't want someone walking up and being like, hey, that's not how you knit. You're supposed to do it this way. They're like really self-conscious and uptight and like, I don't want anyone to tell me what to do.
That's because I am dressed to the T. I'm already dressed to the T.
Punny. Next we have chapter 6, buildings. What is the building style of Dresden to T-ville? We'd like to invite you to roll 1d8 from the book Roll Me a Village.
That's a 1. Bamboo huts on stilts.
Bamboo huts on stilts. Let's go. So this is a jungle village in the jungle wetlands. Maybe periwinkle tea grows in swamps.
Yeah.
In flooded swamps.
Or just really dense jungles.
I'm just picturing what if it grows in like marshes that are so deep that only centaurs can really walk through them.
Yeah.
Just picturing their shoulders lifting up above the swamps, and yeah, interesting. Well, that would make for a very sweaty and sticky location. Very sweaty and sticky encounter.
It's a very, hence they're also all wearing suits.
They're all just sticky and salty and sweaty and gross. Haven't showered in a long time, so that'd be another fun thing to put into the village details if you were to bring your players through Dresden to T-ville, is that everyone stinks like body odor really badly.
Oh no.
As you walk by this bear, you get this terrible salty whiff as though he hasn't showered in a long time. Now there's a list of buildings here. We're not going to go through them, but I'm just going to read off some of the common buildings. I read these in my other video, Making Better D&D Villages. Some common buildings you'll often find in villages include an alehouse, a bakery, barns, a chief's house, a guard post, a healing house, homes, a marketplace, a meeting hall, a mill, perhaps some religious altars or shrines, and a tailor. Now, I noticed some of the comments in my video, Making Better D&D Villages. A lot of people pointed out, hey, you missed the most important thing, and it's a blacksmith. Or maybe they were like, you missed the butcher or the tanner. And those are actually all situational buildings, which I have included in my book, Roll Me a Village. However, villages are often so tiny that they actually don't have the resources and the infrastructure for those occupations. And so I was talking to a lot of people who grew up in villages and who lived in villages, and they were saying in order to go to a blacksmith, a lot of them had to make a long journey for several hours into town, whether on foot or by a horse, because their village did not have a blacksmith or didn't have these things. These are more locations and occupations you would find in larger settlements. However, perhaps your village is centered around mining, and maybe it needs a blacksmith in there to make sure all of the tools and equipment are up to snuff, or maybe it's just a blacksmithing village, and so in that case you could have a blacksmith in there. Alright, now let's go to external environment. First, we're going to roll up a cute critter. Would you like to roll 1d10 for a cute critter we can put into our village?
Alright.
Now this table is taken from one of our good friends, the Fluffy Folio. They create tons of tiny little critters, and so I've actually hyperlinked every single one of the critters so you can see the artwork in the book.
Alright, rolling a d10. Number 3. We got the fungus-furred flounder ferret.
Fungus-furred flounder ferret. So you just got a whole bunch of tiny, adorable little ferrets full of fungus running around the village. Love it. I'm going to put a picture on here so people can see it.
I guess maybe they run on top of the swamp. They're light enough to not have to not sink down into the swamp.
That would make sense. Next, we're going to move on to threats. Let's see. What are some of the elemental threats that could pose a danger to Dresden to T-ville? I rolled a 4 on the elemental threat table, which is thunderstorms. Thunderstorms. I picture raging thunderstorms. Perhaps every couple months, lightning strikes one of the bamboo huts on fire.
Oh no.
The building burns down, and then everyone just gets high on the vapor from the periwinkle tea.
I guess that's part of why it's a swamp, huh?
Yeah. Do you want to roll for nests? What are the nests that could pose a threat to our villagers?
Let's see. Number 2, giant rats.
Giant rat nests. Oh my goodness. Just picturing giant rats going into the storehouses where the periwinkle tea is and also getting buzzed on the
Going
periwinkle
high.
tea. And honestly, this could be a quest for your adventurers. Like, oh no, rats have invaded the storehouse of the periwinkle tea. You can give your players some periwinkle tea as a reward.
It's first one's free.
And finally, raiders. What are the raiders that pose a threat to our village? I'm gonna roll 1d8 from this table here. I rolled a 2. Drow. Organized crime. I like to picture Drow just raiding the village for periwinkle tea late at night.
Yeah. It would have to be late at night.
A hit and run.
Or maybe the swamp is so dense that the sun doesn't go through the leaves and branches. And so they're able to even do it in broad daylight.
Yeah. Just picturing a Drow snorkeling through the swamp. All for that periwinkle tea.
This stuff's real big in the Underdark.
Almost wrapped up here. We have chapter 9, Rumors. What are the creatures that are rumored to live in the surrounding area? I'd like to have you roll, Zombie, a 1d10 off of the cryptid list.
That is Nessie.
Nessie! Oh my
The
goodness!
Loch Ness Monster. That's how deep the swamp is?
There is a Nessie rumored to be somewhere in the swamp, the marshy swamps of this village. That would be kind of terrifying, just to be like you must be really addicted as a centaur to like be out there in the swamps mining periwinkle tea. This stuff has a deeper grip on the villagers
My goodness.
than we originally thought.
No, I think we originally thought that, but we just didn't want to think that it was true.
Wow. All right, gonna write that down. And for gossip. What is the gossip that goes on in this village? Perhaps your players walk into dressed at a T-ville and people are whispering, and maybe they overhear a conversation. I'm gonna roll 1d12 off the gossip table to figure out what exactly that may be, and I rolled a 9. And this is one for relationships. The gossip in the village is that the Baron's, let's say this is the Baron who's in charge of operations. The Baron's youngest child is not from their spouse. So apparently there's information about some affair going on. I don't know why the people care about it, but they do. You could create side quests around this if you want to. Finally, one more rumor. Treasure. Zombie, I'd like to invite you to roll 1d20 to wrap our first village up.
Alright. This is a monumentous occasion. Alright. D20. That's a nat 1.
A nat
Compass.
1. Okay. Do you want to give us a cinematic idea of what this looks like in your DM voice?
Rumor has it, in the depths of the swamp, in the belly of the Loch Ness monster that inhabits dressed the T-ville, there is a compass that always points to the nearest bit of tea, so that you will never go without a hit.
I love it.
And that's why the Nessie is even attracted to this place in the first place.
The Nessie is addicted to the liquid. Wow. Incredible.
Wow.
For more strategies that will enrapture your players into your D&D worlds, check out this video.